Unatazama Mwangaza TV, tumaini lako.
Je, wewe ni mwanabiashara na ungependa biashara yako kuimarika hata zaidi? Na je, ungependa kusimamia mojawapo ya vipindi vyetu? Basi usitie shaka, tuko hapa kwa ajili yako. Kwa habari zaidi, zungumza na idara yetu ya mauzo kupitia nambari ifuatayo: 0705 4777772, au pia unaweza tufikia kwa barua pepe info@mwangazatv.co.ke. na Mungu akubariki. Mwangaza TV, tumaini lako.
Unatazama Mwangaza TV, tumaini lako.
Good evening and welcome to Mwangaza Prime Bulletin. My name is WAITHERA and my sign language interpreter is Naomi Mathu. Let us first have the highlights of the stories making the headlines tonight.
We have discharged the highest number of patients in a single 24-hour period. We have discharged 175 patients from the various facilities who have recovered from the coronavirus disease.
175 patients discharged after recovering fully from COVID-19.
As the Rift Valley Law Society, we are calling upon the President to uphold the rule of law and the Constitution as it happened at the time when he took oath of office. He promised Kenyans that he will obey and he will act in accordance with the supreme law of the land.
Rift Valley Law Society of Kenya defends CJ Maraga.
Each one working together, joining hands to ensure that the overarching objective of a safe, clean, healthy, secure park.
And the government embarks on the process of rehabilitating City Park. Welcome back. And Kenya has recorded the highest COVID-19 recovery rate today after 175 patients were discharged after having fully recovered within the last 24 hours. With the 175 patients discharged, the number of recoveries has risen to 1,048. However, 105 new cases of COVID-19 infections were confirmed by the Ministry of Health, bringing the total number of infections to 3,094. New infections included 96 Kenyans and 9 foreign nationals. Stella Kariuki has broken down the statistics and prepared the following reports.
Kenya has recorded 105 new cases of COVID-19, raising the country's total number to 3,094. This is according to Health Chief Administrative Secretary Rashid Aman, who also said this is out of the 2,273 samples that were tested in the last 24 hours. So far, a total of 1,696,000 tests have been conducted to date. The youngest new COVID-19 case is 2 years, while the oldest is 77 years.
As said yesterday, we have already crossed the 3,000 mark. Out of today's 96 today's cases, 96 are Kenyans and 9 are foreigners. 77 are males and 28 are females. The youngest is 2, the oldest is 77.
Meanwhile, the recoveries have risen to 1,048 with 175 discharges from various hospitals and isolation centers.
We have discharged 175 patients from the various facilities who have recovered from the coronavirus disease. This brings the total number of recoveries to 1,048. We shall be failing if we do not recognize the good work of our healthcare workers, whose effort and dedication has made it possible to record these many recoveries.
At the same time, the Health Ministry has rolled out home care guidance for COVID-19 patients. Speaking at Afya House today, Health Chief Administrative Secretary Rashid Aman said that it is becoming untenable to isolate all COVID-19 cases in hospitals, whereby 78% of the positive cases are asymptomatic or held mild systems. He also revealed that Kenya was among the first African countries that are considering the home-based care.
We are glad to inform you that today we are launching our home-based isolation and care guidelines for patients with COVID-19. This guideline is available on the Ministry of Health website, and I encourage you to look at it, download it, and look at it so to get a clear understanding of what it entails. This protocol has been developed to provide a solution in the management of the increasing numbers and the anticipated surge in COVID-19 cases.
In the latest figures, Nairobi had 43 cases, Busia 18, Mombasa 11, Turkana 7, Migori 6, Kiambu and Kwale 5, Kilifi, Machakos and Taita Taveta 3. Kisumu had 2 cases, Garissa 1, Uasin Gishu, Siaya and Kajiado 1. Dr. Aman also announced that 1 person had succumbed to the disease, raising the total number of fatalities to 89.
These cases are distributed in the following counties: Nairobi with 43, Busia with 18, Mombasa with 11, Turkana 7, Migori 6, Kwale and Kiambu 5 each, Kilifi, Machakos and Taita Taveta 3 cases each, Kisumu 2, Uasin Gishu, Siaya, Kajiado and Garissa 1 case each.
Reporting from Mwangaza Prime News, I'm Stella Kariuki.
None of the prisoners held in the 108 penal institutions across the country is COVID-19 positive. This is according to the Commissioner General of Prisons, Wycliffe Ogalo, who, when speaking in Eldoret after inspecting the Eldoret and Kapenguria GK prisons, Ogalo clarified that the 31 positive coronavirus cases were remand prisoners who were referred to facilities by the court and had been taken to quarantine centers. Margaret Kamau tells us more.
Speaking in Eldoret after inspecting the Eldoret GK prison and Kapenguria, Ogalo clarified that the 31 positive coronavirus cases were remand prisoners who were referred to facilities by the court and had been taken to quarantine centers. He said that the 42 contacts were also new remand prisoners that were in quarantine with the 2 prisoners who were tested positive. He added that prison authorities nationwide have set up several quarantine facilities to ensure those taken in remand are quarantined for a fortnight and subjected to test.
The mass testing will come when there is a need. But since I've said that the inmates, as at now, they are fortified and they are safe. So the issue of mass testing may be considered. But that notwithstanding, I want to give assurance that the inmates that we take care of, that are serving, are safe.
Ogalo maintained that the prison facilities are aware that they are vulnerable confined society, and one case could trigger a change that will affect prisoners, staffs, and their families.
They referred to positive cases. These were positive cases that were in the quarantine. They had not been mixed with the serving inmates or prisoners. So these are like anybody along the streets and could be tested and found to be positive. So these are new cases that have come from courts, but we confined them in a quarantine. And I want to add that we facilitate them twice in a month to communicate with their friends and relatives.
Meanwhile, relatives have been barred from visiting those in prison. Prison facilities have also started to decongest prisoners to ensure the 1.5-meter rule is achieved. The prison board has assured that all inmates and police officers are safe across the country, and the government has introduced ways of helping the inmates communicate with their families during the COVID-19 pandemic.
So I've come here to see into it that the protocols and conditions that are put in place by Ministry of Health and subsequent protocols that we are put in as a service are adhered.
Reporting for Mwangaza Prime News, I'm Margaret Kamau.
Thank you so much, Margaret Kamau. And moving forward is that Regional Pastoral Livelihood Resilience Project has started giving out vaccinations to livestock due to the economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic in the country. The project, under the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock, is giving out the dewormers to goats since the owners are not able to buy dewormers for their livestock during this time. Led by the project chair of Laikipia County, Gilbert Mboroki, the project is set to benefit over 40,000 goats in the hotspot area and over 600 households affected by the COVID-19 economy.
Dawa hii ambayo inapeanwa ni mahitaji ya msingi ya wafugaji, na serikali imejitolea kuhakikisha kwamba kila mfugaji atapata mahitaji yake ya kimsingi ya dawa. Lakini iwapo kama pengine haingepatikana dawa hii kwa mifugo, kungekuwa na madhara kubwa, kwa sababu kitu ya kwanza, mifugo kwanza wangeanza kukonda, na mifugo wakikonda, sasa ile inafuata sitakufa, kwa sababu zile minyoo ziko kwa mwili, ile ugonjwa yenye kwa mwili ndani ita affect ile mifugo, na mwishoni hizo mifugo zitaanza kufa kwa sababu ya magonjwa.
Hii mambo ya corona imeleta shida mingi. Wala kusia mbuzi hakuna, hata mbuzi mahali kununua dawa hakuna. Kuna watu wanaishi mbali ambao tegemeo lao inakwanga soko. Sasa hizi imekuwa shida kwa kila mtu, hata watoto imekuwa shida kwa kutafutia chakula. Kwa hivyo tunaomba serikali tu kama inawezekana afungue soko, na pia ndio tutapata madawa.
Juu hatuna hata pesa ya kununua madawa, soko ilifungwa. Sasa hata dawa hakuna, uwezi pata. Tukapata leo, tumesema asante, tumeshukuru. Tunaona serikali yetu wanatujali. Juu hatuna nguvu ingine, sasa pesa ingine hatuna ya kununua madawa, watoto wanahitaji chakula, mbuzi wanahitaji kunywa dawa.
Rift Valley Law Society of Kenya has come to the defense of Chief Justice David Maraga and the judiciary over the appointment of 41 judges currently in a stalemate. Speaking at the Nakuru Law Courts today, the society's president, Ochang Ajigo, said they stand with the CJ over the matter, calling on the executive to obey court orders.
My name here is Ochang Ajigo. I'm the chairperson of the Rift Valley branch of the Law Society. As the Rift Valley Law Society, we are calling upon the President to uphold the rule of law and the Constitution as it happened at the time when he took oath of office. He promised Kenyans that he will obey and will act in accordance with the supreme law of the land. There is so much backlog, especially in the courts that deal with land and labor relations. And these 41 judges would have been very useful in the process of dealing with these matters that have been pending for so long. Here in Nakuru, you can imagine that a person who has filed a case in the ELC court can wait up to a period of a year before even a mention. And as we speak, the diary for this year is concluded, and there will not be any hearings happening until after 2 years. The ELC courts are only 2, and we were very hopeful that after the appointment of these other 41 judges, 1 or 2 more judges would have been posted here. It is a form of weakening the independence of the judiciary. It's a form of confirming that the judiciary is of no use, and that is not a state that we would want to live as a civil, democratic society.
The government has embarked on the process of reclaiming 30 hectares of land belonging to the Nairobi City Park, which has for decades been grabbed by private developers. Environment CS Keriako Tobiko today visited Nairobi City Park as the ministry seeks to rehabilitate and restore the area. Maureen Wanjiru has that story.
Over time, as you know, this park has gone through processes that are not very pleasing. Like most other open spaces in this city and in other places in this country, greed, corruption prevailed. The area was grabbed, and only in 2014 that part of it was reclaimed through revocation of title by the National Land Commission. So what has been reclaimed is 60 hectares. So we're talking about another 30 hectares that are still in private hands. And we shall be inquiring into who and how and under what legal justification that was done. Now, the President recently directed us, as part of his Greening Kenya initiative agenda, to map out, reclaim, restore, beautify and protect all green spaces within the city. We started recently, 2 months ago, with Michuki Park. We are almost done. And he directed us, my ministry, and working with the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, General Mbandi, to quickly ensure that this park is restored and protected and be made available and accessible to all Kenyans. It shall remain a people's park, a public park, not a private enterprise. The overall objective is to ensure that this park is restored, conserved and protected, and utilized as a public asset in perpetuity. So today we came here to have a meeting and brainstorming session with all the partners and City Park, Friends of City Park and others, and to begin a long process, developing a roadmap, including fencing, ensuring security. This place must be clean, safe and healthy for all, and particularly, there was this girl who is a friend of the Friends of City Park. Is it Eileen? Yes. All right. So that she and others, our children and those yet to be born, can enjoy this place without any hindrance or fear or worry.
Thank you so much, Maureen Wanjiru. And that story by Maureen sees us to a short break. Don't go too far because we'll be right back with more news right after the break.
Unatazama Mwangaza TV, tumaini lako.
Coronavirus COVID-19 is a respiratory virus spreading across the world. The infection is spread from droplets of coughing and sneezing of an infected person, touching or shaking hands, or being in contact with contaminated surfaces or objects with the virus. The signs and symptoms are fever, coughing, headache, body ache, difficulty in breathing. The disease can be prevented by regularly washing hands with soap and running water. Avoid close contact with people who have flu-like symptoms. Avoid handshake, hugs, and kissing. Also, protect yourself by covering your mouth or nose using a disposable tissue while coughing or sneezing. If you experience these symptoms and you had traveled or been in contact with a person from a country reporting COVID-19, you should isolate yourself for 14 days and seek immediate medical attention or report to the nearest health center. This message has been brought to you by the Government of Kenya and its partners. For accurate information on COVID-19, dial *719# or call 719. Follow us on Twitter at @MOH_Kenya, at spokesperson GOK, at WHO.
As we take personal responsibility and adhere to all government regulations and guidelines in relation to coronavirus, may we remember that God is faithful. He will not allow us to be pressed, crushed, and perplexed by the epidemic to a point of total destruction. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 9 teaches us that we may be hard pressed on every side, but shall not be crushed. We can be persecuted, but shall not be abandoned. We can be struck down, but shall not be destroyed.
Je, wewe ni mwanabiashara na ungependa biashara yako kuimarika hata zaidi? Na je, ungependa kusimamia mojawapo ya vipindi vyetu? Basi usitie shaka, tuko hapa kwa ajili yako. Kwa habari zaidi, zungumza na idara yetu ya mauzo kupitia nambari ifuatayo: 0705 477 au pia unaweza tufikia kwa barua pepe info@mwangazatv.co.ke. na Mungu akubariki. Mwangaza TV, tumaini lako.
Unatazama Mwangaza TV, tumaini lako.
Welcome back to Mwangaza Prime, and now off to Nakuru County, where the sharp rise in water levels around Lake Naivasha, which has led to flooding of flower farms, hotels and estates, has been attributed to high siltation in the water body. According to experts, the freshwater lake was becoming shallower at a rate of 3 centimeters every year due to the sediments from catchment areas and ongoing projects being swept in as Kelvin Kariba unfolds.
In the last couple of months, the lake levels have risen to the highest levels ever at 1,892.8 meters above sea level since 1906, when it stood at 1,892 meters above sea level. According to the Secretary, Lake Naivasha Riparian Association, Silas Wanjala, the water body was one of the most erratic in the region. He noted that those affected by the current floods had encroached into the riparian land and constructed permanent structures, terming the current crisis as self-made.
As much as we look at the face value of our lake in terms of the rise in lake levels, beneath the surface lies a concern of how much depth we are losing as due to the continued siltation. When you look at the turbidity of the water that is flowing into the lake, it's completely brown and not transparent. That is a great indication that a lot of silt is coming from the catchment, getting into the lake. Yes, we have a good rise in the lake levels, but studies have shown that our lake is losing its depth annually by around 3 centimeters. Every year we lose 3 centimeters.
Wanjala warned that these had affected the quality of water in the lake and put into risk the fisheries sector, which employed hundreds. The chairman, Lake Naivasha Basin Landscape Association, Paul Ruoya, noted that runoff from Eburu and Aberdare forest had contributed to the silt, leading to the rise in water levels.
Kama ni county government, kama ni national government, katika ile budget yao wanafanya kila mwaka, tumeona kwamba ile percentage wamepea environment, mambo ya mazingira, ni kidogo sana. Na ningewahimiza kwamba bila mazingira mazuri hakuna maisha mazuri. Kwa hivyo waweke uzito katika ile budget ya environment, ili kwamba kama ni beach landing areas zote ziwe zimehifadhiwa kwa njia nzuri, kwa hali nzuri ya usafi, na ndio hata zile samaki ambazo zinapatikana hapa, hata hewa ambayo iko hapa iwe ni hewa nzuri.
He noted that farming on the riparian land should be stopped, as this had seen the papyrus weed, which sieved any water into the lake, destroyed. Roy added that this could be done through an increase in budgetary allocation to environmental conservation and education for those around the lake.
Haya maji yametoka kwenye milima. Huku nao pia wakulima wale tumewaambia kwamba walime kwa njia nzuri, kwamba hakuna mchanga ama udongo ambao unaweza kuteremka huku na kuharibu ziwa hili. Kwa hivyo tuko na juhudi kubwa sana sisi kama shirika kwamba tunataka kukaa na wananchi, wakulima, wavuvi, wanabiashara, kuwahimiza kwamba umuhimu wa ziwa Naivasha ni jambo la maana.
The CEO Crayfish Hotel, Peter Meta, said that the rise in water levels had left a trail of destruction flooding the hotel and nearby farms. He noted that for over 30 years that the hotel had been in operation, they had never recorded anything of the kind, with the levels rising by the day.
From 78 we have never seen this. As you see, the campsite, lower campsite is gone. The swimming pool is gone also. And the water is still coming up. This has only taken, the water to come up to where it is, it has only taken 2 months.
On his part, the water chairman, Lake Naivasha Water Resources User Association, Enoke Minter, said that the lake was like a bowl which was now spilling its content. He said that the lake was becoming shallower every year due to the human action around informal estates in Naivasha and catchment area. Reporting from Mwangaza Prime News, Kelvin Kariba.
A 40-year-old man has today been presented in the Kangundo law courts for allegedly impregnating his daughter, who is a Form 1 student. However, the man pleaded not guilty to the allegations in the presence of Judge Martha Opanga. George Makau Kiengo, the accused, is said to have been defiling his 17-year-old daughter between the 20th February 2020 and 30th April 2020 in Kiai Village Matetani location.
As we await the report from the children's officer to find a suitable placement for the victims. Give me a mention date within a week's time. The matter will be mentioned on 17th of June so that we get a report from the children's officer to know how best to place the victim in this matter.
Forest officers in Kilifi County have embarked on making sure that the Arabuko forest is protected from over-exploitation by the area residents. Speaking at Kilifi, and Minister for Water and Environment in Kilifi County, Kiringi Mwachitu, said that residents have invaded into the forest and now it's in danger if strict measures won't be adopted with immediate effects.
Huu msitu mkubwa ambao tunazungumzia wa Arabuko, tusiposhirikiana athari kwa ule msitu utakuwa mkubwa. Manake kuzuia athari kwa ule msitu ni kuhakikisha kwamba wakulima kule kando kando wana njia badala ya kupata pato. Na juzi nilikuwa na mkutano na marafiki wa ARABUKO Sokoke, na tukakubaliana ya kwamba baadhi ya zile changamoto ambazo Kenya Forest Service na Kenya Wildlife Service wanakumba wanazipata hasa kwa ule msitu kuhusiana na patrols. Wale staff ambao wako nao hawatoshi, na wale community rangers ambao pia wako kwa wale marafiki wa ARABUKO pia ni kidogo, na tukakubaliana ya kwamba kama wizara tutashirikiana na wao, manake kama wizara pia tuko na forest guards, tutashirikiana na wao ili wale forest guards wao wataweza pia kusaidia kuongeza patrols.
Miti inatupatia mvua. Unaona Kilifi kumenyesha mvua nyingi sana this time. Ni kwa sababu gani? Kama waziri ameongea, forest cover yetu iko 7% and plus. Kumaanisha kuwa hiyo miti ambayo tuko nayo Kilifi County ni mingi sana, lakini tunataka kuendelea kuipanda ikuwe mingi zaidi na kuhifadhi tufikie kile kiwango cha kimataifa cha percentage ya 10%.
A DCI officer in charge of Embu North Sub-County and who had been remanded for 1 week has been released by Embu Court on a 500,000 shillings bond with surety of similar amount, with a matter to be heard on June 16, 2020. Javason Njeru, who is facing two counts, denied the charge that on 31st of May 2020 at Manyata Police Station in Embu North Sub-County, he raped a 42-year-old woman. The accused is facing alternative charge of acting indecently with an adult on the same date.
These items were in police custody, and whether they are exhibits or something.
And on to other news is that the government has deployed soldiers from the Kenya Defence Forces to search for people still missing after a building collapse in Kericho. The soldiers arrived at the scene at around noon and took over the search to rescue mission as local leaders ordered tenants in adjacent buildings to move out before Wednesday night. A 6-year-old child died in the rubble of the 3-story building which collapsed on Tuesday evening, while other 4 victims are admitted at the Kericho County Referral Hospital with slight injuries. That story from Kericho brings us to the end of today's bulletin. My name is WAITHERA and my sign language interpreter was Naomi Mathu. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We wish you a good night.
Unatazama Mwangaza TV, tumaini lako.
Kipindi hiki kimeletwa kwako na Jewel Purified Drinking Water.
Je, ungependa kunywa maji safi na yenye ladha msimu huu ambao kuna tahadhari za magonjwa tofauti?
Jewel Purified Drinking Water ndiyo jibu lako. Maji ya Jewel yametengenezwa kwa kuzingatia kanuni zote za afya na sheria. Maji haya yamepitishwa kwa kupitia vipimo mbalimbali vikiwa